My topic today is Humanizing Politicians. And it would not be wrong for me to assume that each one of you, me, you, everyone in this room, has a comment about politicians of our country. We feel we know them. We make assumptions about what they ate, what they do, how they behave, what kind of people they are. Everything from their personal lives, professional lives, is up for our scrutiny. We have othered them. We have othered them to so much extent that sometimes we fail to assume that they're humans like you and I. They're just a little bit different. While we may have reasons to question the integrity of a few of them, but we also need to know a lot more about the profession itself. What about those who are doing a good job? What about those who are protecting minorities, who are protecting our fundamental rights, and those who are putting in day and day out for the good in this country? I'm here to make you question the narrative of hate against the politicians of our country. We think of our politicians because how we think of our politicians has an impact on the state of our democracy and the future of our country. First thing is first, I want you to understand what being a politician is as a profession. It is not very different from being a doctor, an army officer, an engineer, a journalist, or any other profession you can think of. While in our country, politicians don't have career pathways set for them, it is not that undefined either. Think of political parties as organizations. As a telecom engineer, you would like to join Telenor, Mobilink, Ufone. As a doctor, you would want to work for PIMS, Shifa, Maroof, Shaukat Khanam. The same way as a politician, when I want to start working, I would go for PTI, PMLN, PPP, ANP, or any other political organization that would take me on an entry position. Each party in itself is an institution, and they offer mechanisms for career growth. In order to do well in the party, you have to get votes from people. Sadly, it is not as structured as other institutions in our country, but still at the heart of it, it is not that unstructured either. Political parties are not monoliths. While we assume that the figures we know call the shots, there are other structures within these parties. Some parties are better structured than others, and some are still evolving. At the heart of it, most politicians choose to work in these systems wherever they start from, with the idea to do greater good and serve their people and their constituencies. Let us try to understand the job a little more. The parliamentarians we elect from all over Pakistan come to Islamabad or provincial capitals, depending on which assembly they get elected to. Imagine for a second a politician from Sakkar. He gets elected or she gets elected as an MNA. He has to balance the constituency politics, the people who put him in the parliament. He has to balance the National Assembly sessions. He has to balance the party meetings and has to serve on standing committees, many events, and many engagements. So the first sacrifice he or she gives as part of this profession is often family. On average, a serving professional politician from a remote place is unable to meet their family much in the 5 years they are serving. This is very different for other professions. Let's touch the difficult topics. Politics is perhaps the only profession whose elite has sacrificed the most for this country. There are many professions, but we don't see elite going out of the way to sacrifice their lives. Let's take some recent examples. The ANP leaders were under threat. They were told repeatedly not to campaign. However, the leadership within ANP realized that so many young people tied their hopes to the campaigning, and there was no way they're going to sit this election at home. They made an active choice to expose themselves to the dangers of their profession, laying the biggest sacrifice from their party. Benazir Bhutto was repeatedly told not to campaign. She survived a suicide attack in Karachi, but she refused to stop. For her, her family, her children were secondary, but her professional duty towards her people was first. She truly believed that she had to take the risk to give hope to the people who believed in democracy. Which other profession requires you to make decisions like this? Salman Taseer, a sitting governor, an elite, privileged man, rich man, ended up sacrificing his life for a poor, marginalized Christian woman in our country just because he believed in the principle. As a politician, he wanted to stand up for the principle. I'm yet to find more examples from any profession whose elite has sacrificed this much for the country. Yet the impression of politicians continues to be that of incompetence and corruption. We have to understand that 37 years of dictatorship in this country has sustained an effort to ensure that politicians continue to be branded as incompetent and corrupt. The founder of our country, Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, is never referred to as a politician. At the core of it, it was a political process that led this country to be formed. While corruption exists in every institution, it is only the politicians who are kept most accountable for it. This is the reason that our young people associate politics and politicians with negativity. When I started working with politicians, I assumed the same stereotypes of incompetence and corruption. I thought studying at Columbia University through the Fulbright program has brought me to a point where I am in the position to be telling them things. I thought I'd learned a lot. I learned everything about policy. I've met such fancy people. I would be the one who would be explaining things in the meetings and places where I'd get access to. I was very quickly proven wrong. My image was broken through a simple conversation with a few of them. I saw Maryam Aurangzeb sit and diligently review a document we had prepared, only to realize that beyond the media circus and the pandering I'd witnessed on a daily basis on television, she was a very remarkable professional who liked to work all day long and often did not even take weekends because she wanted to work for what she believed in. A side of her I would have never discovered any other way. I saw Sherry Rehman working hard on solving complex policy problems. I saw Senator Faratullah Babar giving in extra hours to support young people on collecting laws from all provincial assemblies and making a database. I asked him why was he doing it, and he said to protect the people of Pakistan from the tyranny of fake law, an initiative which is so big, and he's himself advising and taking care of it and ensuring that people are protected from the tyranny of law which continues to govern us and is not even real. Ms. Nafisa Shah leading knowledge-based discussions on pro-women policies, and so many more politicians who are really committed to doing hard work and we hear nothing about. My image of them all as rude, arrogant, inaccessible was broken. It is just that I'd never tried to reach out to them because I never had to. When I did, my impression was different and it turned out to be different. They were quite welcoming to these conversations. I learned so much about the Parliament, how difficult it is to even ask one single question on the House. What are the rules of procedures the parliamentarians have to navigate on a daily basis? How do they constantly try to build alliances to pass bills that work for all of us? The pro-women legislation, the Hindu marriage bill, the Elections Act, the 18th Amendment are all examples of parliamentary achievement which our young people would know nothing about. I found the biggest challenge for all of them was that people don't understand the role of parliamentarians in this country. People continue to trouble them and keep them accountable for areas and domains which are not theirs to begin with. A parliamentarian's role is to legislate, to represent, and to provide oversight. Being a professional politician in this country is very difficult. While the parliament demands legislative performance, the citizens continue to hold you accountable for fixing transformers, solving conflicts, attending funerals and weddings. That is how you win votes. You must be thinking, so what? I've attempted to humanize the politicians for you to make you realize that learned people like ourselves should look beyond the propaganda we are exposed to and try to genuinely understand the profession of politics. It is our duty to learn, educate, and support the political process and politicians and political institutions. Because when political institutions are weakened, democracy is weakened. When democracy is weakened or derailed, dictatorship looms. When all that happens, the Constitution ceases to exist. And when the Constitution ceases to exist, your and my fundamental rights and freedoms cease to exist. Therefore, it is important for us not only to understand the profession of politics, but also challenge our perceptions and the perceptions of young people around us who are around us about the politicians. At the end of the day, politicians are that one force that continues to protect and safeguard our Constitution, our fundamental rights and freedoms, and they're one profession whose elite has never shied away from living their lives. They deserve to be treated a little better by all of us. Thank you.